Lately on the channel, we've been aiming for more cinematic, high-end, B-roll heavy, visually enticing productions. This video is a little different than that. It's a little more of a straight talk, and it's a question that I've gotten somewhat over the last few months, and I think even I would be interested in solidifying my own take on this subject. And so that's what we're talking about today. How you can grow a YouTube channel if you're thinking about starting one. Surprisingly enough, the rules that apply to growing a YouTube channel are actually very relevant to a lot of the other ideas that I talked about in the early days of my channel about consistency, chasing success, incremental improvement, finding your voice. And I have noticed that the more I stuck to the principles that I originally believed in, like having a sadhana, a set of daily disciplines by which you should live your life, once I practiced those rules more and more and applied them on my channel, that's when I noticed progress in this terrain. To start out, just a little bit of context about my channel. My first 8 months on YouTube, I saw subscriber growth from 0 to 6,000. I was mostly just recording off of my cell phone, not very scripted, just kind of sharing random book summaries or other experiences that I was going through at the time and just talking, straight talk. And I didn't know anything about the rules of YouTube. I didn't know anything about titles and thumbnails or what topic applies to showing up in the search algorithm or the way I should script out something so that the watch time of the video would be higher. I actually think I did it the best way for me at the time, which was just to create. I think I made 50 or 60 videos in those first 8 months. But subsequently in January of 2019, I made it my intention to get serious about this. I wanted to see how far I could take it. And I thought to myself, maybe if I got to 100,000 subscribers, I could leverage that into something that would get me into more mainstream projects. And so I learned a couple of strategies about how to title, how to thumbnail, production value, and even just a little bit of understanding of the game that YouTube can be made a big difference. From January 2019 to just March, I went from 6,000 to like 25,000. I surged just because of a handful of things that I learned and attempted to start implementing. So with that being said, here's everything I know about how to grow on YouTube. The first rule is the 3-year rule. Right off the bat, it's helpful to know that you are going to sink in a hard 3 years. 3 years of focus. This doesn't mean that you have to work YouTube like 9 to 5, or if you have a day job from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. every weeknight and you have to devote your entire weekend to just growing your YouTube channel. As someone who had to commute like an hour and a half every day, and then in the winters even more to get to my day job at the time, I didn't really have that much time and I didn't have that many resources when I was starting out. My first camera was the Canon Rebel T6i, and my only options for filming were my bedroom. I was only able to allot perhaps 10 hours per week to script out ideas, to review those scripts well enough to speak them into a camera, and to start practicing some level of camera presence, which is something that you have to consistently just keep working at because it never feels truly natural. You always feel a little bit of hesitation when you're starting to talk to something that isn't actually there. But regardless, more important than the hours you would sink in per week is your mentality about having a long-term approach to growing on YouTube. That can make a profound difference when you're starting out and you're not seeing any results initially, but it's around the 3rd year of consistency where things start to move. And I had that mentality from the start. In fact, when I would get like 100 views or 200 views a video, I would go on Social Blade and I would see my subscriber count increasing by like 8 subscribers per day. And that was so exciting to me. I would look at Social Blade's long-term prospects, which gives you a sort of timeline of theoretically how many subscribers you would have in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And for me, my first kind of prediction was that in 5 years, I would have 60,000 subscribers. I would look at that and think to myself, damn, that is so exciting. In 5 years, I'll have 60,000 subs if I just keep it up as I am doing it right now with just the resources I have right now. And I also knew in the back of my mind that it was actually going to be faster than that because I was committing myself to getting as good as I could in this space in my niche. It's useful to have this assumption that you are not special. It's not going to happen for you quickly. It's going to happen very, very slowly. In the past, people have spent much longer to get much smaller followings, reputations around their brands. So for me, it always felt worth it. Even that small growth was always exciting for me, and it helped me keep that long-term perspective. Which brings me to the second point, which is choosing your niche on YouTube. You have to choose a niche that you can both be passionate about and that you actually have the capacity to make content in. Now, here's what I feel is a decent way to do this. Pick 3 of your favorite channels, or just 3 channels that you like. Now that's your niche. Of course, It doesn't work out super perfectly because if I were to pick just 3 channels that really inspire me, that kind of, I can see myself wanting to join those ranks, it would probably be Peter McKinnon, who you might know as a very big photo video channel. Just Rain, who's one of my favorite people in comedy, although he hasn't uploaded in almost 2 years. And perhaps the third one would be someone like Matt Diavello, who combines humor with high production value, that filmmaking element, with these more genuine topics in personal development. These channels sort of give an indication of where my ethos lies, where I could have a long-term perspective because I would continually be passionate about the subject. I'd be passionate about the videos I'd be making, ideally. Filmmaking, personal development, comedy. Now these niches are all pretty different from each other, and you might hear from other YouTube growing advice channels that you should niche down very aggressively and tie it into just one specific thing. But I actually think that combining various niches or combining various interests into one channel can give you a very unique edge. Many years ago, like back in college, I'd read a book called Poor Charlie's Almanac. Munger has been the longtime business partner of Warren Buffett, and in a big meeting, he was asked about what led to Berkshire Hathaway's growth, their unusual success, and he credited the Lollapalooza effect. That effect is this idea that multiple terrains, multiple dimensions can highlight each other, and they can help amplify the effect of one particular terrain. So the fact that I'm interested in both filmmaking and comedy actually gives me something very unique, because so much of the comedy space on YouTube is sort of raw and run and gun, which is great. But if you were to bring an element of filmmaking to it, for instance, if in the middle of a generic back and forth sketch that addresses Indian parent stereotypes, which has been done for so many years now at this point, if you were to interject something cinematic and drawn out with a long tracking shot maybe, then that would amplify the effect in a new way. It would be an element that people might not have seen as much before. Similarly, the fact that I'm also interested in these long form videos, that I do like to just have straight talks with the camera, that could be seen as confusing two niches, but in my opinion, it also helps me strengthen the community and address the viewer with a new ethos. Not just comedic videos and just being silly all the time, but also trying to provide meaning, drama, that feeling of exhilaration from a video where you're just, I don't know, having a real deep sentiment. It helps connect in a more deep way. Long form videos also have the advantages of being able to work in a sponsor, because those sort of things are hard to work into a quick cut comedy sketch. And if you're someone who's interested in filmmaking, that stuff can get expensive pretty fast. So having a sponsorship, it definitely does help. This video is sponsored by Morning Brew. Morning Brew is a free daily newsletter you get from Monday to Saturday, which gets you up to speed on business news in just 5 minutes. I've been subscribed to Morning Brew for a few months now, and it's been a very positive news source to get every morning. I do get the sense that a lot of other more traditional media sources, I guess it's no surprise that they are highly political, and that's totally fine, but I do find that if my news and my day starts from a highly politicized or very negative space, then I don't feel good. I don't see it as a good start to my day. Morning Brew, on the other hand, focuses more on tech and business, and I'm someone who's continually interested in tech. I work in tech, and I do like to keep up with news and current events in that space because it just helps me be more future-minded. It gives me new ideas to keep up with the news. Lately, what I learned is that Epic Games, which is the company that built Fortnite, they actually created a method that you can direct pay for their service. And while that service had originally been on Apple's App Store, Apple had been taking a 30% cut off the App Store for every software that was on there. And so when Epic Games did decide to do a direct payment method, Apple actually kicked them off the App Store, and it's going to be intriguing to see how that develops the market in apps in general. There's no reason not to subscribe to Morning Brew if you're interested in business, finance, or tech. It's completely free, and it takes less than 15 seconds to subscribe. Click the link in the description box to subscribe to Morning Brew today. Thank you, Morning Brew, for sponsoring this video. Number 3 is to create a system built off of your niche. For me, in all 3 ends of my niche, the most important thing is writing. That's something I've said numerous times, but it is worth reiterating. If I want to make a good self-help personal development video, then I've got to have words that are interesting to say. Nothing else matters if the concept isn't inherently valuable to the viewer. Similarly with comedy, in order for me to write good jokes and come up with a great sketch idea, I just need to come up with more ideas in general. So writing has been of paramount importance to me. And when I don't invest the time, or when I'm not disciplined in writing every week, I do notice that my channel suffers. The quality suffers. Even if the B-roll and the production value continues to get better and better, if the words are not good, the channel suffers in general. With that in mind, I do try to write words on a page for like 8 hours per week. That is part of my system. So even if a particular video or a particular month is performing good or bad, I try not to think about that. It's hard at times, but I do try not to pay attention to the metrics as much as I pay attention to my system. My system of, did I write 8 hours this week? Did I write for about an hour every day? Or similarly, other elements of my niche's system include shooting with my videographer Thomas for about 8 hours a week. We try to just shoot every weekend and try out a sketch in the middle of the week. With comedy, one of the great fears is that you're gonna put something up and it's not gonna be funny. That's probably something that keeps me up at night. And there have been numerous times on my channel where I woke up in the middle of the night and I deleted a video because I was just afraid it wasn't funny enough. And honestly, I probably stress out about that way too much because there's only been one occasion where I put up a video and the feedback was, unusually negative, but just making the attempt of trying to film, trying to get out in the field and get visually enticing footage or shooting a sketch idea that potentially could be funny. For me at least, having volume on my side, having an aggregate of footage shot allows me to curate and only put out stuff that I'm actually happy with, stuff that I'm proud of. It's the Lollapalooza effect all over again. The filmmaking element with the actual script, with the actual words, with hopefully the humor that maybe some of you enjoy, and hopefully to make things more enticing and also to make me a better filmmaker and speaker with time. And maybe you're right now thinking, oh, well, I don't have the resources to go film grade footage or make things visually enticing. I don't have that knowledge with editing and all of that. And the answer to that is just to start with the skills you have, start with the resources you have, and just get incrementally better at them. And in fact, the volume of videos that you produce and sticking to a schedule with those videos, you'll just naturally find that you get better at pacing, editing, scripting. All of that gets better through iteration. Number 4, and this one's sort of an unsavory thing that not a lot of people talk about, but it makes a big difference in trying to grow your channel. And that is to look at channels that are just one magnitude bigger than you, especially channels that might not have super high quality or high production, and see what videos have worked well on their channel, what titles and thumbnails. There is a huge art to titles and thumbnails, and these things are worth studying. I have often wished that I could just make the video I want to make completely and not worry about the title and thumbnail at all. Just give it the title and thumbnail that I would be happy with, that represents the video the best. But there is an art to this. You want the combination of packaging the video in a way that is very enticing to the viewer and very clearly gives the value proposition of the video while still making it true, genuine, authentic, and hopefully somewhat original. And so one thing you can do while starting out is to look at a channel that's just one magnitude bigger than you. So if you have 100 subscribers, look at a channel with like 1,000 subscribers and see what videos have done well on their channel in the last year. And then ask yourself, what is it about the title and thumbnail of this particular video that got a lot of views? Because this YouTuber isn't big enough to be generating a lot of views from their personality. Not enough people know them yet, so they're probably not coming for just the persona of the person. They're probably coming because there's something about that title and thumbnail combo that's enticing to people. And so honestly, you could just steal their title and thumbnail. I know that seems like morally wrong or just unsavory. I totally agree that it is, but I promise you that everyone you like, everyone that you've ever watched has done this at some point. It's why in the personal development space, everyone's video title is Save My Life, Change My Life, Journaling, Cold Showers, Stoicism. We all hit the same beats. We just hit them in our own way because those are the title and thumbnail combos that work on YouTube. All of these title and thumbnail combos, all of these keywords just trigger something in the viewer, and it's been proven to work. You do have to steal like an artist at times, but I think there is an ethical way of doing it where whatever topic and title you're making, you do make it your own, and you do try to say something in your own voice. And the last piece of advice is super important, and it's one that I have to continually remind myself of when I put a lot of effort into a video and it tanks, or now, you know, things just get more complicated when you have more resources. Now there's sponsorships involved, so I feel like I have to make the video perform for the sponsor while also not selling out and still be genuine to my audience. And through all these things that you have to end up considering, a very important thing to do is to stay detached and just keep uploading. What I sincerely love about YouTube is how egalitarian it is. I mean, life isn't fair, and on YouTube, if you're young and beautiful, you'll probably do better than if you're old and curmudgeon-y. But the truth is, in this space, if you work hard, if you try to get better, if you try to learn the game of YouTube while still learning to generate your own voice, and especially if you continually keep showing up with the best of what you got, people notice that. People notice genuineness, people love honesty, and even if they disagree with you, or they don't think you're funny, or they think your channel sucks, there is an inherent respect always for the person who is just true to what they're saying. And so one of the best things you can do for yourself that goes very well in line with that 3-year rule is to stay detached, keep uploading, and keep showing up with the best of what you got. In many ways, this platform is very true to life, where when you keep showing up with the best of what you got consistently and you keep trying to get better, cool things start to happen. And for those of us who continually try to get better and keep showing up, to us I say, greatness is coming. Cheers.